Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. My name is Louis Mendes. Hope you guys are all well on your Sunday morning. On today's show, we will be looking back at a very impressive point down at Bristol City yesterday. The Addicts playing out a goalless draw with the Robins, but a game I feel they probably could have won yesterday. Joining me to look back at that game, well, first up, top right, it's a newbie. It's Paul Clements. How you doing, Paul?
Morning, Louis. Morning, listeners. How you all doing? Yeah, I'm great. I'm in an optimistic state.
I think everyone would be after yesterday. Good to have you on board. Also, bottom left is Tom Walling. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, I'm all right. I had the pleasure of 2 minutes before kickoff, Nath running up to me, facing the crowd and singing away the Harvey Nibbs song. So it was a great start, and the game was good as well. So yeah, enjoyed yesterday. Good fun.
Yeah, well, just Nathan turning up anywhere is always the highlight of anyone's day. And also there, bottom of the screen, is Mr. Benji Cloak. How you doing, Ben?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's good to get the away days back going again. Nice little place to go and have an away days, unlike those League One away games we had.
Yeah, I'm sure. At one point during the game yesterday, I tweeted Bristol Rovers instead of Bristol City because we were so institutionalised, weren't we, in League One? I forgot that it's possible to play other sides from Bristol. But yeah, it was a great day yesterday. A really impressive performance. Charlton, I think, certainly the side that looked more likely to go on and win it in that second half. So on today's show, no highlights because there's no goals, but we'll hear from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones. We're going to hear from Amari Bell as well, one of the new signings. I was able to catch up with him after yesterday's game as well. We want to hear from you guys as well. Morning to everyone who is joining us live in the YouTube chat. Mike Salmon first in there saying it's a fantastic result. Definitely would have taken a point and, more importantly, a clean sheet. Last time we conceded a goal was against Burton on the last match of last season. It's 8 hours and 47 minutes since we conceded a goal in league or playoff football. It's a great stat, that, because you can just ignore goals that we have conceded, like on Tuesday night, but for the rest of it, we haven't conceded. So yeah, we're looking really solid at the back as expected. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on yesterday's game. Like Mike did, you can put a comment in the live chat on YouTube, or you can email us studio@charltonlive.co.uk, or you can tweet us at Charlton Live. Give us your thoughts on yesterday's game. So as I say, Paul, no highlights from yesterday's game because there's no goals, but that doesn't tell the story at all for me. A really impressive showing yesterday against a good side who scored 4 goals at Sheffield United last week, but I mean, it would have taken them a week to have scored 4 goals against us because we look so good defensively, and it's particularly in the second half going forward the more likely to score, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, Louis. I mean, I think throughout, the one thing that we needed to understand is how this really solid defense was going to transition into the Championship, and could they hold their own. And I think over the first 2 league games, they've put a big green tick in the box. And I've been really impressed, bearing in mind that Ater isn't a natural kind of right wing back, how on the heels of the left side of the opposition he's been. And then you've got the cover. Ramsay's been absolutely immense these first couple of games. So much so you start to worry a little bit about, with the transfer window still being open, what might come next. I mean, that is the kind of slight downside of having players that are really playing at the top of their game. But he was so phenomenal. So point being that even as you get apt to adapt into his new position, you've got Ramsay who's always going to cover, and to have kept that really exciting Japanese winger Yu quiet pretty much all game, he got no joy down his side. It's just like symptomatic of how solid our defense is. So coming out of that, yeah, really positive, because the foundation appears to be there. And from that foundation you can build.
Absolutely. I mean, so Tom, we in the midweek show, the conversation was, a point would be a good result, and it is clearly a good result. And I think taking into account the circumstances, like we say, the big win they had last week, their first home game, big sellout, big crowd, it's noisy. I wouldn't say intimidating, but I mean, it's more intimidating than going to Burton Albion, so kicking them while they're down again. But the fact that I'm coming away from it just slightly disappointed that we didn't win. I mean, it shows how well that we have started, because even the day after the playoff final, if someone said, right, that side that's just been beaten in the playoffs, you're going to go and draw with them at the start of next season and be disappointed. I don't think I would have believed it at that point. It shows how well the side has actually transitioned with the signings this summer as well. Because I honestly thought we were going to go and win that in the second half, and not nick it, because a 1-0 away wins when you play like that, it's not a nick. It's could we find the moment? And I honestly thought that moment was going to come, and it nearly did. We had that Harvey Nibbs chance. We had the one that came off the post, off the defender. There were moments there, but we just couldn't quite nick it. And I was thinking, like, I think if we had won that, I think we could have just about said we deserved to.
I thoroughly think we deserved to, based on that second half. And use the word nick it there. I think in our chat at halftime, I said sneak it, didn't I? I said, I think we can sneak this second half. And I think on the basis of the first 45, sneaking it would have been fair. But then by about 80 minutes, I don't think it would have been sneaking it. If we'd have been 1-0 up by then, that would have been thoroughly justified, because I thought in that second half, we were much the better team. I know the XG wasn't high, particularly for either side, but in terms of the play, we just dominated them. For a 15-20 minute spell, they could not get out of their half in that second half. And we were the team that deserved to be in front. Then they get that corner on 85 minutes, and obviously the free kick on 97. And after those two incidents, I'm happy to go away with 0-0. And I'm like, just stop the game now, that'll do. But those were isolated chances, which again, we dealt with pretty well. So yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. Before the game, I would have taken 0-0. At half time, I would have taken 0-0. And when they lined up that free kick at 97 minutes, I would have taken 0-0. But throughout that second half, I thought we deserved a goal, and I did leave slightly disappointed. And I think it's credit to us, as Paul was saying, about how quickly we've stepped up to the level. And obviously, we are going to need to maintain this intensity. This cannot be a 1 or a 2 off. But for me, that was a far better performance than the Watford game. To go away to a place like that and perform that well is hugely encouraging. But absolutely, that's the standard now. That has to be maintained. And I think a nice sign, I heard at least 10, 15 different groups as we were walking away from the stadium of Bristol City fans talking about how good we were and how much we deserved that point. And, obviously that's not the whole fan base, but overall, I think, people have talked about what going to Bristol City could be like back in the day, and, a hostile place. They were just full of praise for our side. And as Paul says, to a man, everyone was excellent. And the crowd, that's one of the best away ends I can remember being in for a long, long, long time. It was 90 minutes non-stop of singing. Even when they had that free kick at the end, didn't stop singing. And it was just a really good away day. And if we'd have got a goal, it would have been the icing on the cake. But looking at it objectively for a minute, winning your home and drawing away is absolutely fine. So that is a very, very good point. And we have to remember that and try not to be too disappointed, I think.
Yeah, Dudley says, such a good time to be a Charlton fan right now. I'm loving Sir Nathan's Red Army. And I guess the atmosphere and the amount of people we took down there, Ben, sums up where we are now. I mean, Nathan Jones said it himself in Box Park at Wembley after the playoff final. It's a very good time to be a Charlton fan at the moment.
Yeah, it is. As I alluded to earlier, going to like a nice ground, good atmosphere. As Tom said, the home end was packed. And it felt like, that you kind of felt like we've made it again now. We're playing against bigger sides, going to a bigger city. And I just, as Paul alluded to earlier as well, I felt like we just seemed to have fitted in really well. Like the new signings have all linked really well. Okay, Kelman hasn't really had any chances yet, but we know that took Godden a while last season to link up with the rest of the side. Yeah, it just all seems to be fitting in, working really well at the moment. And as fans, it kind of that seamless transition from League One to Championship football, we've done it well at the moment. I know it's only 2 games in, but to go to a Bristol City side that got in the playoffs last season, that started really well last week against Sheffield United, to go there and stamp our authority, because I thought we started both halves really well yesterday, especially the start of the second half. I thought our players just, like Tyrese yesterday, I thought he looked so confident on the ball and he seemed a lot more himself. He was cutting inside, trying a few shots. Rob Ater just settled in so well. His touch, his crosses, there had 2 men on him every time he had the ball. It just seems like these players have either jumped up from League One, or the likes of Amari Bell, and I think Jones has played Championship football before. Like they've just gone back into that league and just gone, yeah.
Yeah, Lloyd Jones hasn't played Championship football
We're
before,
here.
actually.
We're here to stay, and really hard side to break down.
There we go. So we got a little bit of a delay on Ben's line there.
But Luton, he might have. But anyway, I just thought.
There we go. I think he's gone now. Right. Yeah, Lloyd hasn't played Championship football before, but yeah, no, the mix of experience in the side is important. But actually, it's the ones that have stepped up. The likes of Ater, Ramsay, who've not played Championship football before, that have impressed me the most. Paul, I mean, I think we should maybe dedicate the next 48 minutes of the show to Kane Ramsay. But because it's outrageous yesterday. Some of the things he was doing yesterday as well, and we know he had it in his locker because he has done it before, but we don't actually have to see it that often from him, because normally Kane's more about just standing up to challenges, reading the game well, so he doesn't have to slide in and put in challenges where he's like a last ditch challenge. But there was 2 or 3 actual sliding challenges yesterday, like the one in the penalty area in the first half. I feel like it was quite early on. Was just like outrageous. Like he's just an absolute level above what we've come to expect at times over the last few years. The fact, I'm going to say this every show between now and the end of the season, like, how on earth did he end up playing for Harrogate Town? Like, and that's with all due respect to Harrogate Town. It's a lovely place, tea shops everywhere, but how on earth did Kane Ramsay, the professional footballer, end up playing for Harrogate Town? It makes no sense to me at all. And that performance yesterday was just, you just have to hope there wasn't any scouts there from any Premier League teams, or Real Madrid, because they'd be snapping him up.
I mean, I think what we got to question is the Nathan Jones effect in all of this as well. I mean, his proven track record is delivering and developing better players, particularly the younger players that he has within his squad. And Kane isn't particularly young, but I do think he's brought a discipline to his game in a position that he probably was less familiar with when he first came to our club, that is enabled to get the best out of him. So he's really strong defensively now. He's an exciting outlet down the right-hand side when he breaks from his right centre-back position. So that's from my perspective down to Nathan and the coaches kind of getting the best out of a player. And when you question kind of like his previous clubs, I mean, the same can be said. You often hear it about the top of the pitch, Jamie Vardy or Ian Wright coming from lower league football and then going on and having a sterling career. That can happen anywhere on the pitch. And I think Kane's one of those players that, yeah, he was playing at Harrogate and probably doing absolutely fine there, but he's got the underlying attributes. He's got strength. He's got the athleticism. He's got a trick in his system. And now he's really defensively astute. So you put all that together and you got a top potential player that I think could kick on to a higher level than what we're playing at the minute. Hopefully it's with us in due course. I mean, that's going to be our challenge, I suspect, in the weeks, months and years to come. But I think I put that down to a lot to Nathan and the coaching team, getting the very best out of a player and instilling and demanding a kind of level out of them where mistakes, they're not really forgiven very often. They're demanded to play with the same level of high intensity and accuracy in everything they do. And I think he's responding really well to that. He's a shining example. And that I noted it was a 21st minute tackle, I think, on you down that wing. And it was sublime. The timing was unbelievably good. It just like there was no question that it could be a penalty appeal or whatever. It was just a clean tackle. Absolutely fantastic to see.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna have a fun 2 minutes, you can sit down and watch Kane Ramsay's highlight reel that he puts out on X last night, because it was a particularly enjoyable one yesterday. Gavin Carter's with us, says, "Do not underestimate Nathan's ability to coach," similar to what you said there, Paul, as well. I mean, the chat is going on. I mean, Mark Newbury, our very own, earlier on in the chat, I'll see if I can find it. He basically said, you know, can we and would we turn down big money for Kane? I mean, obviously, Gavin's in the chat. He can tell us what big money is if he wants to start the negotiations. But that is the question: is how do you find that balance between Kane looks like quite an integral part of our side this year. The most important thing this season is staying up. They've spent quite a bit of money to get to the point where I think we will stay up because we've got those sort of players. But at some point, if someone comes in with a bid that's very high, I'm not someone who values footballers in terms of how much money. I don't know how much that would be, so I don't know if that's £4 million, if it's £10 million, if it's £2 million. I don't know what would be seen as fair, but there must be a point where we would say no, that's not enough. He's too important to our side, and I hope that we remain in that window between now and the end of the transfer window, Tom.
I can't believe if we're still just a championship or a League One, which doesn't look like being, but let's say we're a championship club next season, I can't believe Kane Ramsay will still be playing for us. But I hope that that's next season. As you say, there's only a couple of weeks left of this transfer window. A bit like you, really. It's really difficult. I see people sort of just chucking in 10 million as an arbitrary number on the chat. Even that doesn't feel enough if it's going to be a Premier League club. And it's not because of what Kane Ramsay's necessarily worth, but watch Match of the Day last night, and they do, because it's first one of the season, they do all the incomings and outgoings along the sort of ticker at the bottom during the manager interviews. Players are signing for 15, 20 million on a regular basis with your average Premier League clubs. The likes of Bournemouth, clubs like that are spending that much on players. So I feel a little bit like if a Premier League club took him for 10 million, that mugs us off a little bit. Now, of course, that doesn't factor in A, what we could do with the money, B, what the owners might want or need in terms of starting to make us towards a profit, all of that sort of stuff. But if a club came in for 20 million, that doesn't undervalue Kane Ramsay based on those first two performances if a Premier League club wants to buy him, as far as I'm concerned. The question is whether we can hold our nerve and whether anybody's going to take a punt on him, because he hasn't played Premier League football and you don't know. So the other thing is, I think, from the owner's perspective, again, what that loss means for us, and again, it doesn't matter how much money we get. If it's a week before the end of the transfer window, how can we replace him given what he's capable of doing? So there's a lot of factors and a lot of questions. I hadn't really thought about the fact the window hadn't shut until we started this chat. I was just looking at the fact that we'll get him for a year and then we'll lose him at the end unless we were to get promoted. But it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one, and he's ambitious. I'm sure those highlight reels are put out on his X with a few things in mind there, obviously. And like you say, the fact he was at Harrogate a couple of years ago is absolute madness. But the way Nathan Jones has developed him into the player he is now is to be commended, whatever happens to him in the future. And I hope we get him for this season and we can have a full season of him at championship level, because he's such an asset, asset.
Yeah, Andy says, why take money now for Ramsay when this time next season you could probably be looking at £10 million if he carries on the way he's been going? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people throwing numbers out there. Like I say, I mean, I find valuing footballers, putting a monetary value on them from the outside in, not knowing the business, and how negotiations work. I find we come up with numbers as fans and we sort of get set on them. But whatever it is at the moment, I think is very, very valuable to us. And I really hope that no one has noticed apart from us, although that's obviously absolutely impossible. Paul says surely his value is only going to go up. And is telling Gavin to keep his powder dry. Gavin's getting lots of good advice from the fan base. I'm glad he's joined us. Paul spoke about Rob Ater earlier on as well, Ben. He's been, I think, outside of the obvious ones, I think he's been my favourite. I'd say he's been my favourite new signing so far in terms of what I've seen. He's crossing now. Now we're 2 games into the season. He's definitely putting more good crosses than Thierry Small did all of last season. After one game, I said maybe he's around about there, but definitely putting more good crosses already. Two off the top of my head, I can remember for the the chance where they hit the post for the own goal nearly, and the chance for Harvey Nibbs right at the end. But again, if anyone was concerned about someone making the step up who hasn't played Championship football, well, Rob Ater looks like he's played Championship football his whole life.
Yeah, he does. And I think we as fans are always excited by wingers. I think if we're to look back on your John Robinson, your Sean Newton and players like that, we get excited by wingers because they're fast, they run at defenders, they make them scared, they do all the dirty work as well by running back, and they're the players there at the end that are shattered because they've run up and down the pitch. And as Paul said earlier, I think he's just doing that right wing back role really well, and that he's getting back well, probably not used to that from his time at Blackpool, getting forward well, and he's just showing so much confidence. They, as I said earlier, they doubled up on him. He kept going and going. He trusted in himself, and our best chances came from his balls into the box. And yeah, you're liking that to Thierry Small last season. He seems a lot more dangerous. So there's a ceiling there for him to come, and it just seems like he's got bags more potential to show us, especially once he keeps linking up now with the likes of Kelman, with the likes of Matty Godden when he's fit, and Miles, Nibbs and that kind of stuff. He'll just get better and better once these relationships start to improve.
Yeah, and I have been so impressed with him so far, and as you say, the link up with Carey has been good. I thought that worked. Well, the interesting thing about Ater and Carey yesterday was, particularly in the first half, it was so clear that they were doubling up on him, Paul. So to the extent that if Carey came near him, all of a sudden you had 4 Bristol City players all standing within about 5 yards of each other, just to stop them being as effective as they were at times last week. But he got more space in that second half because Bristol City had to try something maybe slightly different, or whatever it was. The game just was different in that second period. Who else should we talk about? I mean, we're going to hear from Amari Bell later on, so we'll talk about him later on, Paul. But I guess if there is to be one downside so far, it's maybe people are looking at Charlie Kelman and saying he's still not at the pace yet. I think that's fair, and whichever way you look at it, he hasn't really affected the 2 games he's had so far. I'm still very much in the camp that you've got to give him a bit of time, because he hasn't had the pre-season, and I don't think you had the season that he had last season without having more about him than what we've seen so far. So I'm not too concerned about that yet. What about yourself?
I've got no concerns whatsoever. I mean, I think he's clearly, for me, he's probably maybe half a yard off the pace right now, but that's a fitness thing. He hasn't had a full pre-season, and he's going to need to take probably another 2 to 3 weeks to really get up to the same levels as the rest of the squad. But that's not stopping him from chasing down sometimes lost causes, etc. He's working hard up front. I think on balance, and this is part of the game right now that we're playing in, we've stepped up a level. Our possession percentages are less than what they were last year. You're getting fewer chances. So when you get your chances, you need to be really effective. But have they landed at his feet? I mean, I think if I'd seen him getting 3 chances across the game in the 6-yard box and he spooned each one of those over the bar, I would probably be sat here a little bit nervous about whether or not he could step up and transition with the same levels of confidence as last season in League One. But that's not what's happening. I think just things aren't quite landing for him, and the volume of chances we're creating in the first 2 games aren't sufficient for him to really sniff out that first goal. It will come. In some respects, I had hoped that he, even though it might have been too much on his body in a week, I hoped he'd played against Stevenage midweek, because I thought that was the ideal game to just build a bit of confidence, more minutes in his system, and for him to sniff out a goal or 2 in that game. So, and I know he got a little, I think he came off the bench in that game late on. Forgive me if that's wrong, but point being is I thought that he could have done with that game to get a goal and just keep his confidence levels up, but I'm not worried at all. I mean, he's a natural finisher. We saw that with the bundle of goals he scored last year. Once we really calm down and the league starts to settle down, we'll create more chances, and I think he, alongside Godden when fit, will sniff those opportunities out.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that stood out for me yesterday, Tom, is that sort of casting my mind back to this time last year when we started with 3 wins, no goals conceded. But there was always that underlining, we defensively good, but fluidity, was it there? I feel like, considering there's clearly more to come, we haven't even spoken about the players that come off the bench and improved us yesterday. I feel like when we will progress as a side this year, which we inevitably will do because that's how it's going to work. I feel like we're starting from a better base. Like we look more fluid already than we were last season in League One. Is that? I mean, Apter, Carey linking up nice, Coventry pinging the ball about a bit. Doherty, I think will be an interesting point to chat about later on the show. But I thought it was decent yesterday. But the fact that we already look like we carry more of a threat in terms of possession of the football yesterday than we did at this time last year. It just honestly makes me feel like that when the inevitable more to come happens, that we could be in a real good place.
I couldn't agree more. And it goes back to my point that this is the level that we have to be able to maintain now. It's very easy in hindsight, given that we haven't lost either of the games. But I feel if we'd have lost both of them narrowly, maybe 1-0, like that last minute yesterday, I'd have been coming on and pretty much being as positive as I have been in the two Sunday shows, because the performances tell me that we're on the right track. And obviously goals win games. So you can't just say every week, well, the process was good and we played well, and then lose 46 out of 46. But the process is a massive, massive part of it. And when you look at the wins that we got in the early parts of last season, they were a little bit fortuitous. And it did feel like we were sort of scrapping our way through the league until that back end of the season when we really stepped up. So I've been very, very impressed with the performances. I was nervous before the season and during both games that what was our level going to be like. But you can just see that level is there and that competence is there. I think you're right that when the subs come on, we don't seem to drop off. If anything, we improve. And look, Kelman needs time and we need to see what happens there. But the ability to bring Liburn and Tanto on for 20, 25 minutes is not a bad thing at all. That could be the tactic, that Kelman does a lot of the hard work, because you saw it was a chance just after Kelman came off, I think, and Tanto and Nibs came on. There was suddenly a massive gap in the middle and Bristol ran forward a long way. Now, I know players have just changed, but it makes you realise what running the likes of TC and Kelman are doing up there from a defensive standpoint as well. So, yes, there are little things to pick off. I'd be happy to talk about Doc a bit later as well, because I'm one that's defending him, and I think he was good second half. I thought first half he looked a bit like Watford, but second half I thought he was much improved. But yeah, that base level, you're totally right. We've gone to two teams and we still don't know how the league's going to play out, but you expect Bristol to be certainly in the better half of this league. And we've matched them. We've matched them at their place, if not slightly outclassed them at times yesterday, although they had chances as well, of course. So, yeah, I'm very, very encouraged, but I'm also, not crazy enough to think that we've done enough now. We need to be putting this in every single week, and that's going to be hard work. But I'm comforted by the fact that with Jones in charge, he's just not going to let that standard drop, is he? And if somebody does drop off, they will be out and somebody else will be in who can run and run and run like these players are doing. So, yeah, it's a really, really encouraging start, better than I expected, but it's got to keep going now.
Yeah, you mentioned Bristol City. So Bristol City had a couple of moments. So Mehmeti's shot from outside the area in the first half, I think, was probably their best one, because even though Mehmeti then hit the woodwork in the second half, the way that TC lost the ball, but it still took a really weird ricochet to get through to him, and that was a harder chance than the one that ended up hitting the post for us. So the defensive display was so good yesterday. I think I'll put this in my piece on Richie's website. There was one point yesterday where I was looking at the pitch and I was looking at our goalkeeper and I was like, I can't remember his name. And it took me like 10, it was a little brain fart. But I was like, what's his name? Because I haven't had to say it for ages. So that shows how well we were defending yesterday. Yeah, just on Kelman, all hell let loose, saying he predicts he's going to start scoring against QPR. I'm predicting a hat-trick at Loughborough. Well, that'll be worth the money, wouldn't it? The 39 quid we've all got to pay to go there, because that'll get your money's worth for that. Paul says Kelman will be okay. Just need to keep his chin up. We all want him to be successful with us. We all need to have his back. And I think we do so far. Jake says no concerns on Kelman. We know the current system is not for him. He was better and challenged for headers. Him and Liburn up top would be ideal. So yeah, the subs that came on yesterday: Ben, Liburn, Alafe. I really like Alafe. When the ball's at his feet, I think he's going to drag us up the pitch really well. And there was a couple of runs into the channel yesterday. I think again more to come, but I think he's quite exciting to watch. But Liburn again, I think those players coming off the bench are making a difference at the moment, and whichever way round it ends up being throughout the season, if it's Liburn starting, Kelman, whoever coming off the bench, Godden still to come back, we are going to have options on the bench, game changers as they're called now, but that is always very encouraging to see. And I've not even mentioned Harvey Nibbs yet, who obviously came off and had that chance yesterday as well.
Yeah, really encouraging with the subs. I think if you look at our bench as a whole, we had the likes of Luke Berry just not even being used. And last season, we had to keep playing him, even though he wasn't fit enough. And obviously missed out on the playoff campaign. But it just looks so dangerous with them coming on. You kind of get even more encouraged seeing Lee Burn strip off and then Tanto and Harvey come on. But there's something about Lee Burn this season. I think he's had a full pre-season. Can't remember the last time he had that. He seems really confident in himself. He obviously is such a big presence for us. And yeah, as I said, I think once these guys get more and more game time to link up with each other, same with Kelman, as we said earlier, just knowing where someone's going to be or them gambling because they know a cross is coming in that direction, we're just going to get better. It's like Nibs gambled yesterday with that cross. And obviously the keeper was at a good position and saved it well. But we just seemed like once these relationships get better, these guys off the bench are going to get better and better. And as you said with Tanto, another run by him where they were just pulling him as soon as he got the ball because they're scared of him. And how great is it we can bring players off the bench that the defence is immediately scared of their pace and power. And they're just such a nuisance. They're just going to cause problems and it's better for us.
Yeah, Spanfish says TC and Kelman both struggling with pace and power at the moment. They will come good. Trust. What did you make of Tyrese yesterday, Paul? We haven't really spoken too much about him yet.
I thought he looked lively. And I think in terms of power, I mean, he developed that in the pre-season last year. I mean, he just bulked up and built up his strength in the gym. I spoke to him post pre-season and kind of was just having a laugh with him after one of the pre-season friendlies in terms of what's he been up to. And he was saying, yeah, he worked on a program to deliberately look to build up his upper body strength, and it worked. And I think we've seen in the first, well, less so probably in the first game against Watford. I thought there was a little bit of trepidation in his system, a little bit more nervousness than usual, but again, he settled. Yesterday, he looked dangerous, I thought. And it's just about the number of occasions that he gets the ball and he can use that outlet. But I thought he looked dangerous. And to your point, Louis Tanto, when he came on, oh my God, I know this is the thing that we've got in abundance this season. We've now got such a strong squad with options up front that you can have the first pair or three forwards work tirelessly to wear down the defence, and then bring on another three that are at least equivalent, in some positions maybe better, to continue working that defence. That's hard to contend with. And I think that's the sort of thing that will really give us an edge against a lot of teams this season if we can maintain the fitness of those kind of front six. But I was really pleased to see TC play as he did. I thought he looked dangerous. You can see he absolutely wants to do the thing that he does really well now, and that's cutting in on his right foot and finding the angle. He didn't find as many extra yards to get as many shots in as he would have wanted to, but that's the kind of Salah mentality. There's an approach that Mohamed Salah plays with Liverpool that gets him goal after goal, and you can see that TC's got that mentality, wants to do that, and to me yesterday started to prove that he's already settling into Championship football and willing to have a real go with less nerves in the system, which is great.
Yeah, he plays like a man who's always on the verge of about to being like doing something. Like you just feel like any minute now one of these is going to come off, and yeah, it will. I think certainly yesterday more so than last week. I mean, Richard Corley, we're chatting with him. He said he thought he played really well last week as well. But I just felt a bit more yesterday, and like I say, I think I don't think "come good" is the right phrase because I think he's doing all right so far. But again, still more to come. Like there will be for everyone in the side, which is exciting. Let's have a listen to what Nathan Jones had to say after yesterday's game. Was able to catch up with the Addicts boss pitch side down at Ashton Gate. Nathan, a point on the road here at Bristol City. How did you see it today?
It's a great point. After the result they had last week, beating Sheffield United 4-1 with the talent they got, I thought we were outstanding, defensively superb. And to be fair, I felt we were going to win it. I really felt we were the side more likely to win it, apart from a counter-attack. Couldn't see them scoring, couldn't see them breaking us down. So it just shows we're in a good place. But I'm really, really, really proud. We've come here, we've adapted to the Championship really, really quickly. And as you've seen today, I thought we were excellent. I thought it's an outstanding away performance. And if I'm honest, it's hard for me to say that in there for the shift today. I'm a touch disappointed we didn't get all three.
Yeah, as you say, Charlton looked the more likely in that second half.
Oh, look, the levels, the energy levels, the desire, the physicality we showed. I loved watching the second half. You know, you have to have that in the Championship. We had to do that, and that's a credit to the staff and the athletes how we work, the environment, the culture, and not one person. That's an environment and a culture that drives that on, and I was so proud of us because we've shown we can compete at Championship level now.
Yeah, and you limited them to only one shot on target after the 4 goals last weekend. Shows how well your side did defensively.
But they got. You look at Scott Twine, you look at Mehmeti, you look at Amari'i. He's a high-profile, high-earning players that will score goals at Championship level. So for us to be 1 shot on target is truly outstanding. That is a defensive performance. That's a masterclass from them, and I'm really proud of my team because to come here and to finish like we did in the last I thought the last 60 minutes we were truly outstanding. I really did.
You're never going to be overawed about the Championship, but what have you learned about the first two games about your side?
I learned everything. Well, I've learned that. Well, I know now that we can play at Championship level. I'm never going to be overawed with the Championship. I've got a good record in Championship personally, but my team are a Championship team. They are a Championship team. I mean, we had someone actually question and say, well, the club's ready, but the team isn't ready for the Championship. And that was someone who hadn't managed in the Championship commenting on that. But we are a Championship team, and we've recruited that way. We have real good competition. And look, we're not getting carried away. We've just got a point at Ashton Gate. But it shows we're ready. It shows we are ready.
Do you enjoy proving people wrong when they say things like that with performances like this?
Look, you have to... I'm from a Welsh mining community. I've had to prove people wrong all my life, so another one doesn't make any difference. But no, look, our team's a good team. Our team got underestimated last year, and that's what people found out. You know, anyone who underestimated us last year got bitten really, and that's what the team we turned into. We're nowhere near our finished article at the minute. We are gathering a little bit of momentum in the Championship, but we have to evolve and get even better because. Look, I want us to be coming here winning games, and that's no disrespect. This is a fantastic football club, well coached, real good players. But look, I feel today we were comfortable in the Championship.
We've still got more to come as well. The likes of Charlie, the likes of Harvey come off the bench, still picking up their minutes as well.
Absolutely. Look, Charlie's had no pre-season, so we've had to get him up to speed in games, and that's difficult to do in the Championship. But look, when I look at us and when I look at the competition we got and what we've got in the squad and how we work, look, I'm happy where we are.
Just away from today, just with Kane Dixon going out to Crawley, what can you tell us about what you're hoping from him this season?
Well, look, he wants to get minutes. You know, really sees a Jamaican international that's come to us, that's gathered momentum, that's proved that he can get up to speed with us. Now he just needs testing. Crawley's a good place. They're very well coached by Scott Lindsay. They're a good football inside, and we feel it suits Kahim to go there. The other one, Gassan, who's gone away today, and we felt he needs minutes to get some rhythm, and he's gone away and scored a goal again today. So, look, fantastic. It shows the squad's in a really good place, that we've got real strength in depth here, real competition, real talent here, and then we've got 2 or 3, 4, 5 which eventually will out on loan where they're gathering our momentum as well.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the River. See you soon.
Well, welcome back to Charlton Live on your Sunday morning. Just heard there from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones, after yesterday's goalless draw at Bristol City. A very passionate interview from Nathan, Paul. The bit I liked. I mean, obviously, he was always going to bring it up if someone said something to him about the side not being ready. But I mean, externally or amongst us fans, if there was any doubt, and I'm not sure there was really, but if there was any doubt, then there isn't now, because we've just looked at home. It's just like, right, Championship football. We've been doing it. This is what we do now. We are more than good enough to compete at this level, and we've proven that over the last 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely right, Louis. And as I mentioned, I mentioned Nathan earlier, and the coaching staff. We can't lose sight of the Nathan Jones effect on all of this. The man is full of passion. He's got so much ambition in his system. I'm sure most of us fans, our ambition is to stay in the Championship and stabilise as a Championship club. I have very little doubt Nathan's ambition is to get us into that Premier League as soon as possible. And he will approach every game in the same way to try to achieve the same result. And that is a win and a draw at worst. And he won't always get what he wants. And there'll be rocky patches without a shadow of doubt. But he's instilled a really positive, aggressive, ambitious culture in the club. I think it's got the fans on side, because that's what results do, because of what we did in the second half of last season in particular. We're all bought in. And so he's drawn us all together and made some pretty powerful unit that teams are going to come up against. And quite frankly, I think we're going to cheese off a lot of away fans and clubs this season because of that kind of mentality, spirit, and slight in-your-face attitude that Nathan brings to every game. And I love that, because he's our manager. And he's the one that's going to kind of help remind us, even in those slightly darker result days, that the next game's coming and we'll go again. So yeah, this is all a lot about Nathan Jones. And as he said in his interview, he's got experience at this level. He knows what it takes. And so it's about making sure that the formula builds in the right way for us to give us a chance, whether it's this season or beyond, to really compete and challenge for promotion. My ambition isn't that this season, for the avoidance of doubt. I mean, I'd be happy to really consolidate in the Championship if we can do that this season. But I very much doubt that's what his ambition is. He'll want to go for it every single game. And I love that.
Yeah, this is an interesting point that Sammy made in the chat earlier on today. He said, I don't think our squad is poor. It's decent for the level, but you can easily imagine us being rubbish with most other managers. Jones is so good tactically and squeezes the best out of every player. I mean, how much of this so far this season is Nathan Jones, do you think, Tom? Because obviously, like I say, there's players who've had to make the step up there, and that's the hardest part, I'd say, for a lot of people, is going into that next level and showing that you can still do it. And Nathan obviously puts a lot of belief into his side. He puts a lot of demands on his side as well, but it's worked for us. And he has to take a lot of the credit for that.
He's the main. Is he the main part? I don't know. He's certainly a huge part of the machine as a whole. And it's proven in as much as the squad he inherited from 2 or 3 different managers who had failed under it. Obviously, the squad is very different now, but at the time it wasn't. And you look at the back half of that first season and how he turned that around and just made that defensively solid with players that were leaking goals all over the shop. It shows just how good he is. And look, his dramatics or whatever paint a picture of him. I saw so many references to David Brent when he was at the Southampton manager. And I think if you're an average watcher of football, that taints him. And so you listen to any kind of high street football podcast and Nathan Jones is a bit of a laughing stock, but anybody who concentrates on the EFL and focuses on what he's done at clubs where he's been given time, it's very easy to see what a coach he is. And when I obviously haven't gone back and listened to the show when we hired him, but I remember I couldn't believe we'd got somebody of the caliber of Nathan Jones at Charlton at League One when we were almost in danger of getting relegated into League Two. It was astounding. As I said on last week's show, I never thought we'd be to where we are now in this short space of a time. But I was so convinced he was the right man for the job, and I'm delighted that I've been proven right. And I think the thing that needs to be right is he needs the fans on side, even when he's slagging them off. He needs the fans behind him. But also, most importantly, he needs the right sort of player, because I see it in the chat, his ability to coach and to manage definitely is there. but it's a style that's only going to land with certain players. There are players that need a different sort of management, and maybe some of the other Curtis Fleming, that sort of person is there to support those players. But the one thing with Nathan Jones is you just cannot drop off. You have to play at 100%. And if these are ambitious, maybe even arrogant individuals, which probably a lot of players are by their very nature, that's how they get to the standard they are, then having someone there driving you, screaming at you on the touchline when you just give 99%, drives you to make sure that you don't drop off your level. So, yeah, look, he's not Pep, he's not Ferguson yet, but he's a very, very talented young manager who tactically has got it spot on, who defensively has set us up to be so solid when you think about where we were, and has just built this side into I think you said it last week, like an irritating side. People don't want to play against us now, and we're playing up to that attitude, and we should at this. I thought we were going to have to this year because I didn't think our level would be quite at the same as others. But if we're matching teams on the pitch and we've got that as well, that's a huge asset. So, yeah, he's a brilliant manager, and I'm just delighted he's here.
I listened to the start, only the first minute or so of Gerhard Struber's interview. If you go to the BBC Sport website, like the match report from yesterday's game, you can hear it there. And I just noticed there was just a little bit about, Charlton did this, it didn't allow us to do that. And I was like, well, we are not going to let you play the way you want to play. We're going to dictate how the game's going to go, and that's why we're going to be successful. And so, yeah, irritating. I like that. I like that a lot, that we're going to be that this season. And because, as I said, people will underestimate us this season because we're Charlton, and we're not, as I said on Thursday, we're not Charlton, we're not Premier League Charlton. It's nearly 20 years since we got relegated from the Premier League, which, as sad as that is, that's the fact. And so whereas we're still in our minds, we're big Charlton, we go into the Championship, there'll be a lot of sides, but it's nice to see Charlton back, but they're not thinking, right, this is a good side. They're expecting us to go and roll over for them, as David said on Thursday's show, our Bristol City correspondent. He didn't say it in a disrespectful way. He said this is the football fan. This is what we would expect from a game like this against a newly promoted side. So, yeah, very, very pleased with how that turned out. Stephen said the nucleus of the team was there last season. Is built on he has built on that and improved it to make us a team that can more compete in the Championship. One of the things that I found really positive yesterday, Ben, was just the atmosphere pitch side after the game. So while I was interviewing Nathan, although there was one funny moment where a steward came up to him and said, I thought you were going to have a heart attack during the game because you're saying Nathan, so don't worry about me, just because of how he sort of operates on the touchlines. But everyone was just in a good mood. I ended up chatting to quite a few, the coaching staff and a couple of the players, and like the atmosphere around the camp at the moment is really positive, which has to be a good thing, Ben. I think that bodes really well. Right, that doesn't bode very well, Ben.
Yeah, I guess it's...
Right, Ben's gone. His Wi-Fi, unfortunately, has completely died on us. So, Paul, same question. The atmosphere around the place feels really good at the moment. I think that's important. Paul, you're on mute.
We're all at it, Louis. We're all at it. Yeah, no, I think both in the squad and in the stands. And that connection between the squads and the fan base is so important. Go back a few seasons ago, dare I say, Appleton era, etc. There was just that. How many players will we long remember and have that kind of positive connection with, and all be in that same kind of mental zone in terms of what we want to achieve? Very few and far between. Again, Nathan's instilled this culture across the fan base and with the players that is positive, that is going in the right direction, and that is working together. And we need each other. And you reference kind of like, Nathan's reaction to fans, but at Bristol Rovers away, another Bristol team, Bristol Rovers away last year, when we lost that game 3-2, and he did get dogs abuse, despite coming over to the fans and holding his hand up. And this is the point. This is what riled him so much. And it was a talking point between my son and I on the drive back home, that he actually came across to apologise because he realised that the standard of football in that game wasn't good enough and to what he would expect. And he got absolute dogs abuse because we were like probably 3 or 4 rows back from where the fans were giving him a really hard time. And that's the sort of thing that winds people up and kind of makes them determined to remind the fans kind of their place and what they're expected to do. Well, he's managed to get that support now. You're not getting dogs abuse because we're all together and he's constantly remind us of how he feels if he gets that. And that's so the negative combined with all the positivity. That's where you get the kind of the right tone and the culture in any club and pulling together. One thing that I've found quite interesting, and this is like with Danny Hilton's step up into the first team coaching role and stuff, is how that transition is going to work, the difference in dynamic and how positive it is. And I've seen him both at the Stevenage game, the cup game, and yesterday away, because I sat behind the manager's bench, how engaged he is, how many instructions he's giving, how positive he is, etc. Again, that's cultural. That's really good. You got somebody that stepped into a role that immediately is embracing kind of like this positive energy and kind of getting everybody in the right direction. And I know that's he's a professional. He's got a job to do, but there's something about how you go about doing it, and then everybody thrives off that. So what again, what's not to like about that? It's in a really good place.
Excellent stuff. Right, let's hear from one of the more experienced players that joined us in the summer as well. Really pleased to get a first chance to speak to Amari Bell after yesterday's game. Amari, it's a goalless draw here at Bristol City. How did you see that today?
I think we have to take the positives from that game. Another clean sheet, some more points on the board. So I think, although we couldn't get the goal, the win that we wanted, it's a positive state from it, and we're happy.
Yeah, it certainly felt from where I was sitting that Charlton looked the more likely in the second half. Did you see it that way?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as games go on, we like to take pride in that we're gonna, try and run over teams and, just fight till the death. I thought we did that today, but obviously we just couldn't get anything on the right end of things, and yeah, it was a draw, so we'll take it.
At the other end of the pitch, another clean sheet, as you mentioned. I mean, only one shot on target conceded today against the side that scored 4 at Bramwell Lane last week. You must have been pleased with that.
Yeah, I think the whole squad, we pride ourselves on doing the basics and defending well. We showed that today. We'll put our bodies on the line to defend, the goal. So that's what we'll definitely show.
I was going to say the vast majority of shots that Bristol City had will go down as block shots as well. Is that something defenders are really proud of?
Yeah, of course. I mean, as defenders, we want to keep the ball out of the net, and that's what we did today. So we'll be happy with that.
It's been a great start. I think there's no other way of putting it.
Yeah, it has. There's a lot more to come from us. We've got quite a lot of new players in, so we're still trying to find our feel. So we're still trying to gel together, and as games go on, we'll show more and more consistency. Have
you enjoyed your time at the club so far as well, arriving as a new signing?
Yeah, 100%. I'm loving it. Team doing well. The boys are great. I'm playing. We're gelling, as I said, and I'm looking forward to the future.
You're a senior player who's played a lot in the Championship as well. So is that important in a squad that's obviously got a few that have come up from League One who haven't been there before?
Yeah, 100%. To show and give a bit of my experience to the other boys and help out where I can. I think that's always going to be great. But the boys are great, and they've showed that so far that they can play at this level, and I'm happy to be playing with them.
Obviously, Nathan Jones trusts you a lot because you've worked with him before. I mean, what is it about Nathan that you wanted to sign up for again?
I mean, I think like I said before, he brings the best out of me, and he's passionate in what he does, and that's only going to benefit not just me but the other boys too. So I like the passion that he brings to the side.
What's realistic for Charlton this season, do you think, as someone who's been there in the Championship before?
I mean, for me, I just look at it as in there's nothing to fear. We want to just go out in every game and give the best account of ourselves, and see where the end of the season brings us. But we're definitely gonna be fighting and trying to win as many games as we can.
I am really regretting the decision that we made there for me and Amari to both be sat on a ride-on lawnmower during the interview. But yeah, great to hear from Amari Bell. Tom, so what have you made of him so far? Trim says Bell, a very good player. He says he's been a massive upgrade on Gillespie. Linux said, I didn't expect Bell to be this good. I mean, I've been well impressed with Amari Bell so far.
Yeah, same. I don't know if it's fair to say he's an upgrade on Gillespie because we haven't seen Gillespie play at this level. And I think back after last season, he was very good, obviously culminating in the goal. But yeah, really impressed. I was worried in the Watford game a few times because he likes time on the ball, doesn't he? And there was a couple of times where Watford players closed him down. But actually, he was never in any danger. I don't think he lost the ball on any of those occasions. And he made his pass and I was going to say got away with it, but actually it wasn't a case of getting away with it because he did it. And yesterday there was less of that again. And I think I just need to remind myself that actually he knows exactly what he's doing. And he's just I suppose the difference from Gillespie is Gillespie would tend to just get rid of it. But there were a couple of times yesterday where he was sort of shielding his ball, facing his own goal, and he was managing to get out of those spaces and get clearances. So, yeah, I really like it. I think him, Jones and Ramsay as a three they just look so solid, don't they? And again, we can talk a little bit more about the defence, but we've spoken a lot about them already. But the chances they did get in that first half in particular were all blocked, as far as I remember. Just players throwing their bodies on the line. I can't remember if Bell particular was one of those, but that unit, they're just so strong. And again, as Paul was saying, and as we said last week, for players to come in and fit into an established side like they've been here for a long time just speaks volumes. And that back 5, 6, if you include the goalkeeper, there's 3 from last season, and you've got Ramsay, Jones, and Edwards, and then there's 3 brand new in that you've got Ater, Bell, and Kaminsky. But they look like the 6 that have always played, and that is, I suppose, the best credit I can give to Bell and those others, that they have just slotted in like they've always been here. And again, credit to Jones, because that defence was what we've been built on for best part of 2 years now, maybe longer, since Jones came in, and that hasn't gone away despite the personnel changes.
Yeah, Aaron says, I'm gutted for Maka after last season, but you do not change a brick in that wall that we play at the back. We've got a Luton fan who's joined us as well, actually. Still signing people from Luton. Says, Amari Bell had a stinker in the match that relegated my Hatters last season, but we knew when he can be consistent, he can get going. And that was sort of the message we got from a couple of Luton fans. Maybe Amari's not at his best now, but maybe that was the fact that Luton were really struggling last year, and obviously something has gone wrong at Kenilworth Road, a double relegation. Something's not right there, and sometimes that can have an effect on a player. And if you, again, the culture and the environment that Nathan is putting together at the Valley, maybe that's allowing Amari Bell to flourish again, because he's looked very, very good so far. I thought, Paul, maybe we could have a little word for the couple of players that gone out on loan. So the Gas man, in Charlton Live tradition, a transfer was announced at 8 o'clock when we ended the show at 8 o'clock. So we just missed the fact that Gas had gone out to Stevenage. We had talked about the fact it seemed likely to happen on Thursday, but he got his goal yesterday. Tidy little finish. Me and Ben were watching it on the train home yesterday. It was a nice little goal for him, which was great. And obviously Kahim going out to Crawley, I think will be a really interesting one, because he needs now to get a run of games in men's senior football, which he hasn't had for us. He came off the bench sort of midway through the second half yesterday. Crawley fans very complimentary, but it's obviously very early days yet. But what are you hoping that he can do there, and can you see a future where he gets to play week in, week out for the Addicts?
Yeah, I'll answer that, Louis, and I'll also comment, I think, on Nathan Asimwe as well, who seems to be having a really positive impact at Wimbledon too, as things stand. I mean, on the Gas man, look, I mean, I think all Charlton fans that watch kind of games home and away, or as much as they can, will recognise that player puts all in. It just so happened that he was playing in a team at a point in time last season where it wasn't really clicking as well, and then he had a bunch of injuries. Lost favour a little bit, and so didn't play so much. But I wish him well. I hope he does really well. Whether he'll come back and be a better player for that experience, I don't know, because I do question with him what his ceiling is. And what is kind of, what level of the football he'll play at, whether he would be a competent championship player, I just don't know. I suspect he'd be a very good, consistent League One player, but I might be doing him a disservice. So that's Gas. I wish him well. I'm really pleased to see Dixon go out on loan, because in little cameo appearances that he's played for us, he looks like he's got no fear whatsoever. He's got lots of talent in his feet. And I think if he gets a run of games at League Two level and starts tearing it up, it will only build his confidence and enable him to come back better for it. So I'm really pleased that he's got the loan. He only got a short spell yesterday, but it only just landed in the club. It'll take a week or two's training, getting into the rhythm setup and stuff, but I would expect him to get quite a lot of game time. And right now, as I mentioned, Nathan Asimwe, based on looking at the assists and his contributions in the Wimbledon team, he seems to have really hit the ground running. And I think that's really good for us, because I know that there is still like a lot of question marks around what we're going to do, if anything, in the transfer market about that right wing back position. That's an area where we've not got a lot of depth within the club. So having somebody like Nathan Asimwe go away to Wimbledon, hopefully get a full season, lots of experience, assists, the odd goal, and really good consistent performances can only help us, I think, downstream. Particularly because, as I say, unless we bring in another alternative talent in the next season or two, we haven't got the depth in that area. So I think overall, it's good news for us. I'd be surprised if we don't see another one or even two go out on loan or permanently, just because we've still got a pretty big squad. And if you think about the defense in particular, the Zach Mitchells, etc., how much game time is he actually going to get other than the cups right now? And so I can imagine he's one that will possibly be going on loan. But no, it's good for us. It's good for us. And I like the fact that it's our players that are going out on loan to other clubs where we benefit, rather than us taking in as many loan players as we once did for another club's benefit in terms of getting them the minutes and development.
Yeah, exactly that. And you're right about a Simway assist yesterday. Jacko started superbly there. We knew we could trust Jacko, so I'm glad that we've sent players out to work with him. McSquared said, I very much doubt we would have been delighted with a 0-0 scoreline last season, but the circumstances yesterday was very satisfying indeed. It says Ramsay and Jones were both phenomenal, and Apter had a great game too. He said he felt that Bristol were a step up in class from Watford, which I agree with, but we stood up to the challenge with aplomb. Leicester will be even more of a step up in class, but if we keep playing as we are, no team is going to find us an easy touch. Lovely stuff, and that is how we will end the show, on that great email there from McSquared. So massive thanks to you for sending that in. Yeah, it's been a good show, I think, for a 0-0, because everyone's feeling really good after yesterday. So yeah, thanks to everyone who's joined us in the chat and given us your thoughts on yesterday's game. Don't forget, if you want to subscribe to us on the YouTube channel, make sure you do that, and check out our podcast wherever you get your podcast. We'll be on there, so hit subscribe on there as well. Check out our merch store as well, charltonlive.etsy.com, to buy a Charlton Live mug. Tom and Paul, thanks very much. Excellent debut, Paul. We'll be seeing you again, I'm sure.
Thanks very much, Louis. Been a pleasure.
So thanks to Ben as well, who he did his very best. We've had to send him out on loan to get his fitness up, but he'll be back at some point. He's saying he's getting a new computer, so hopefully that will help as well. So cheers to Ben as well. Yeah, so I'm Louis Mendez. This has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. Don't forget, we'll be back on Thursday to look ahead to next weekend's game with Leicester City at the Valley. We shall see you then.